Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. Let rain fall, let rain fall.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Laurel Park. Thank you for joining us here this afternoon on Today at the Races. And we have 11 races on tap. Yesterday was kind of a tough sequence as we had some decent prices there in the Rainbow Six and in the Pick Five.
Right.
The Pick Five, we have a nice carryover
We do.
today. It's an excellent card.
Yeah, almost $12,000. And as you said, a tough sequence yesterday. Another one today and into tomorrow. So we could see this Pick Five, no doubt, carry over into tomorrow. But worth a shot today. Got a good ticket later on. I think, within range, like a $60 ticket, $45 ticket. I have to go back and double check. But yeah, we've got a lot of action today. I like some prices today along this racing card. Yesterday we did good. I think I had 5 winners on top. You were right around it. Once again, you mix and match some of our stuff. I think you're going to do okay. You got to maybe trust us a little bit. So
Even Stan
we'll
the
see.
man
MC
had
Squared.
5 winners.
Did he? Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Great. Stan, I didn't get a chance to look.
He bagged the first 4
Did
winners
he?
and then had the last one on the card.
MC Squared. We got a Miracle Bob with that one to beat Helm in a blanket finish at a good price. And Golden Glint, back in Mary Epler's barn, really rolled home nicely at a good price. So, yeah, prices along the way. They're going to be abundant all the way through the weekend.
And we have a great card today. Of course, tomorrow we have Ben's Cat coming back, making his 10-year-old seasonal debut.
He
King
better have his
Leatherberry,
running shoes on, too.
That's
Gabby.
a tough
Yeah.
race. And even King Leatherberry sent out an old 9-year-old winner yesterday, fresh off the shelf there, sprinting on the turf. So maybe that's a good, kind of a good omen for tomorrow, too. It was a big day for jockey Trevor McCarthy yesterday. He still tops the leaderboard there. He bagged 4 winners yesterday. Victor Carrasco in second in the leaderboard, and he actually bagged several winners on yesterday's card,
Trevor
too.
with 4 yesterday, 3 in a row, if you caught them along the way in a pick 3. I mean, those guys they're solid, consistent riders. We're glad to have them here in the colony, and we've got some other good riders, some up-and-comers. So, yeah, let's get today's card. Let's look at the track condition and everything first, Gabby. Fast and firm. Really called it turf good yesterday, but it probably leaned towards firm, looking at times and everything like that.
And it looks like the rain is going to stay away from us today. It's going to be in the 60s and cloudy. The track is fast. The turf is firm. 1:10 p.m. first post time. And as you saw previously there, we do have some nice carryovers. No carryover in the Super High 5, but a big whopping carryover in the Pick 5. That kicks off in race 7. Over 11, well, just shy of $12,000 actually. So that's going to create a lot of excitement later on the card. But we'll start things off here with today's opener, 5.5, going for 5.5 furlongs there on the main track for this open $11,000 event. And you look at the race in here. We have several horses who have a tremendous amount of back class who are dropping back down. One of them being Cuddy Shark, a horse that you and I both land on. He's faced 3 other than company. Finally, they're just getting reasonable with him.
Yeah, it looks like it. Not much splitting. A couple of these horses, Dixie Deputy, Cuddy Shark gets a bang. A couple of them come out of the same race on March the 20th. But yeah, Cuddy Shark, Barn, Claudio, we talked about it yesterday. The dirt horses are doing definitely better than his turf. They're holding that percentage up with them from doing well in the dirt. And this horse comes back to the realistic level. Didn't fire at all last time, but once again, a bullet April 23rd. I think Star 80 worked that same day, won yesterday. My Enigma was on the same day, ran a good third in that turf race. Cuddy Shark, I think, is going to get a great setup. There's plenty of pace up front. Dixie Deputy, it's a bang. Piece the action. Quality Column is fresh off of a layoff. Flow should really benefit Cuddy Shark. It has to come back to the 2-back race at 5.5 I think his rally will get it done. I'm hoping to see him within 3 or 4, but at the head of the lane. If he's a little further back than that, I'm going to be a little worried.
I will be worried
Yeah.
too, but he should get that pace flow, as you said, in front of him. Dixie Deputy, I would imagine, has to go from that rail post position because, your hand is always forced when you draw an inside post like that, especially at 5.5, 6 furlongs on the dirt. But Piece of the Action, he's pretty fast in his own right, and that's where I kind of lean more towards Piece of the Action because he's got that controlling outside position, and he, again, is another one. You look at the statistics for the Kieran McGee barn, they're all very good. They're all very solid and still positive ROIs, but the barn does very well transitioning turf to dirt, and I think he's going to be even poised. He's going to be faster out of the gate given the turf to dirt angle.
Yeah, he can kind of maybe take initiative there and maybe pin Dixie Deputy in tight. Maybe it's a bang the horses to his inside. We'll see what Trevor does. I like Trevor back on this horse. He really knows this horse well. He'll get a position up front or just off of it and battle it out a long, long way.
Okay, we'll move on to the second race on the card, a starter optional claiming event. 1 1/16 mile there on the main track. We have a scratch of the 3 Resolve, and we'll take a look at the replay of the 5 Holiday Moose, now claimed into the barn of Donald Barr, but previously trained by Cal Lynch there. And this was a replay on the 10th of April. You can see him, and yes, he did kind of get a reasonable setup here, but this horse is making a nice grinding move from off of the pace. You can see him kind of closing down on the inside. Once he finally angles to the outside, I really thought this horse put in a good closing run. However, you can see in the short comment there, stood up at the 16th pole, so misjudging the finish there. But then Fergal Lynch actually going back into a hand ride, so you can see him standing up right there. He goes back into a hand ride. This horse looked like he would have won.
Yeah, let's not watch that one again. That cost the Fustel Fund a little bit of money. The kids' tuition was late due to that.
I'm sorry for bringing up
Come
a sore
see me. You might have to
subject.
give me a couple bucks to help get by. Add it in a checking account. The wife will never know. But no, Holiday Moose.
That's a good name for a horse. The wife will never know.
that was a good effort there. The internal fractions were solid when you're looking at it. He was kind of urged from the gate, put to the whip early to get position. Then he kind of rated back and made another move. I think the added distance is going to be fine.
Me too.
Minor Legend has the speed and the rail, but the question mark is the distance for him. I think Holiday Moose, first off, a claim. Donnie Barr doesn't claim a lot. He hasn't done a whole lot of claiming in recent times, but over time he's about 20% and bats well with Carrasco. So I think this horse will be tactical. Not a ton of speed in here. We've got the scratch of Resolve, who I thought was going to be part of the pace fill, but I can see him laying about 4 off of it, 3 or 4 off it, off of Heavenly Haze in Minor Legend.
He looks like one that's really going to like the added distance of the 2 turns. So that's where I was going. The 1 Minor Legend, I agree with you. And, last time out he was bet down to the favorite, and I thought he was a horse that was in really good form on the dirt. Now, in last start, transitioning his form back to the turf, I thought he was going to be sitting on a big race. Maybe not the case. I always thought the turf was his more preferred surface. So I'm kind of dubious of him today. Not only that, he gets to the main track. He gets to 2 turns on the main track, and in the past when he's faced a similar company, he just hasn't had enough energy to the finish. So I think that's going to set up for some others. We also have the 6 Captain Alex, who's dropping in class. I use him because of the class drop, but he's another one who I question the distance. I've always thought of him as a closing sprinter.
I agree with you. He's had a couple chances at a route. He's the 1-turn mile. He kind of makes a little move and then flattens. Will he sustain it 1 1/16? I'm not sure. I'll stick with the 4. I'm sorry, with the 5 Holiday Moose in here. The 4 Heavenly Haze didn't run too bad last time out. Actually, bobbled and steadied early, got in some trouble, moved up to the pace, and gave way grudgingly. Goes first off the claim for Johnny Hartzell.
Okay, we head to the turf for the first time on the card, going 6 furlongs on the Fort Marcy rail set at 87 feet, this open $15,000 event. And we have the 7 Came Back in here, 5-2 on the morning line for Alan Goldberg. They got a winner on yesterday's card, and that horse definitely figured in there.
Boy, he looked good out on the track, too.
Yeah, he
really
looked
sharp.
very, very good. And maybe it's going to be a similar case with this horse. I have no really qualms about him, except his race 2 starts back there when he was on the turf. It was a pretty decent early fractions, and you almost have to wonder if the race kind of essentially set up for him to close into that hot early pace. So that's where I kind of shopped for a little bit of a price in the 4 I Run a Latte. This is a horse, he's 7 years old, second off the claim for Kieran McGee. He was coming off a November layoff in the race prior to that. And he's just one who's never really fired first off the shelf. He's in his 7-year-old season now. I think whether or not he's good enough to win, I don't know. He has had a tendency to not really finish and kind of hang in the latter stages. A lot of things have to go his way. Yeah. But I think he's going to move forward off of that last race.
No, I can see that. You can see that from May of 2015 to July last thing. Similar little layoff, didn't fire. Second off the leg, could be a little bit of an improvement in form. I like the two, Joe Tess, just looking at the race and looking at how this race is going to unravel. Not a ton of speed in this race, and I like the way Joe Tess has really kind of evolved the last couple of races, showing a little different dimension. He's encountered trouble and came back, showing a lot more heart in his last few races. And this horse, you go back, he has won over the turf course a win. That was going long. It was going a mile back in 2014. But he's also run an okay in sprinting. He ran a good race in the punchline behind Two Notch Road and Bolton Out. Some real quality crack sprinters. I think he can just kind of go right to the front here and dictate. And even if he doesn't get the lead, I think he can sit and make a move. I like coming off the 7 furlongs. He's got the bottom of him, bottom into him. Usually I don't like this move. Good form on the dirt, now going to the turf. This horse has done this before and has been able to do it, and the barn has been successful with this type of move.
I could see it because he does have that inside post and he has the speed. There's not a tremendous amount of early speed, and that's why I kind of thought that Irinolante might suck up into the pace a little bit, especially with Trevor in the saddle.
No doubt.
Other than that, we have the 9. Yes, I was kind of interested him in kind of a fringe player because he's going to be closing. He is a winner at 7 furlongs, so maybe the cutback will be preferred. And we also have the 11. The rest is history, a horse that you and I both use, and Mike Duralis trains now. He's one who's going to be closing late. Is that pace setup going to be conducive?
That's my biggest concern. But this horse did make a decent middle move prior to the layoff, the 2-back race, October in 2015. I know it was for 6,500. This isn't a real huge step up, I don't think, for him. Beat a next out winner. But he was 5 wide around both turns and made a big middle move. He's fresh. He might not be a little bit more, into the bit a little bit sooner. And I think he can make the move a little bit sooner for a barn. This goes first time for Mike Duralis, a barn that's proven with horses off of time. I kind of like this horse at this distance. Might hit him right in the head.
Okay. Yeah. A nice little price there on the outside.
He might slip away at a good price.
He very well could. He could. I think that's a very good betting race if you have an opinion. We'll move on to the 4th race, a maiden $25,000 event on the turf course, 5.5 furlongs. And I went to the 5 major anthem here. Now, I know this horse is 9-2, 0 for 20. Yeah. Change of scenery. That's all
I
that
didn't
matters.
look at your picks, and I don't know how in this race we wound up on the same 3 horses.
That's pretty
crazy.
Remarkable.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, why do you like Major
I think it's going to be Mr. Owl all over again. The horse was like 0 for 20. I think he's got the perfect storm is going to happen. There's enough speed. Horses that have proven they don't want to get the 5.5 furlongs. I think it falls into his lap. I think he goes into a barn that's going to move this horse up, comes off an 8% trainer. I know Jackie's 0 for 8 right now. I think she's going to have this horse right, settles back and makes one run and catches the speed in the last maybe 15, 20 yards.
I agree. Well, we have Credit Ready, who's got a little bit of suspect speed now getting to the turf. We've got Devinson, who's got some suspect speed. He is dropping in class, which could help him. And we have Smart Dixie Jones, several horses in here that do have a tremendous amount of early pace, but can they sustain it going 5.5 furlongs? So the cutback Major Anthem, I agree, he's going to be rolling late. Now, of the speeds, I think the 7 Devinson is probably the more legitimate one. The blinkers come off. This horse has just been very keen in the past several starts, and I can't really see him not running that style once again today.
No, I think he's up right on it. If the Smart Dixie Jones decides to really go gung-ho from the outside, maybe he can rate and make one move with the blinkers off, maybe get him to settle a little bit. Drops from maiden special, in for the tag, always a positive angle. Bobby, he had a tough beat with Rocky Policy the other day. It looked like the horse got up, so maybe he deserves a little bit of good luck. I think Devinson is the one that lasts of the speeds. We've got a sneaky kind of a price play with the 4 out with the Blues. This horse got in a lot of trouble into the turn last time out and actually finished up sneaky good on a surface that really wasn't conducive. The horse is making up a lot of ground. So I wouldn't leave that horse out of maybe your tries, supers, and exactas underneath.
You see a horse beaten over 12 lengths on the turf, and it's like 9,000 miles versus the dirt. But this horse did have good late energy. He was very wide in that final turn. And this is another horse who I don't think he's going to show a lot of early speed, and that's probably going to be to his advantage because that pace will fall apart into his lap. So I'm very surprised that you and I both agree on the top 3.
That's amazing. The one Pirate Cab entry, Trevor, Casey somehow goes and gets Trevor to ride this horse. A Full to Moonshine Mistress. I know this family hasn't produced a whole lot, but I think it's a filly that's 0 for 4 on the turf, but has run almost a mid-60 number on the grass. So a little wake-up call with Trevor and Lasix on in debut. Going to have to overcome the rail position.
He had a very good day yesterday, bagging 4 winners on yesterday's card. The 5th race, going to the main track there at 6 furlongs for this $5,000 claiming event. And you know, I like Hero's Notion. I keep going back to him for some reason.
I picked him last time. I think you maybe used him in the mix or whatever at a price. He went off at 54 to 1. I couldn't believe that. And he got in trouble, but yeah, I'll let you go on that one. I left him out, and I'm probably going to be at my peril today.
Well, you know, I'm looking at this race, and I'm looking at the pace in this race, and there's not a tremendous amount of speed in here. So who is going to go to the lead? I think it's going to boil down to maybe connections or maybe the rider to be aggressive out of the gate, and that was a similar case when they stretched him out a little bit to 7 furlongs a couple starts ago. They knew it was a paceless race. Claudio Gonzalez is usually very cognizant of that, just paying attention to kind of the pace scenario in races. So I'm thinking that they might get aggressive with this horse. He clearly does better. He gains confidence when he's on the lead. If that doesn't happen, I'm going to be very worried, but it's sink or swim at a price.
I think if I could go maybe 4 or 5 deep, he's going to be in the mix, and I'm not going to leave him out of some exacta boxes at all. I liked him on the turf last time. You could toss it. He was eliminated early. I'm going to go with the 2 horse here, 2-term leader for Wayne Potts. A barn that, really is starting to heat up a little bit. They've struggled over the last couple of months, but had a win or 2 on the grass course. This horse is fresh and off of a claim, holds the level, holds the condition. I go back to the 2-back try at Penn. Good enough. A 67 buyer against Star of Magic, because the horse has come back and run really well in subsequent races. I think he's a recent winner of an open $8,000 race. He can lay close enough, I think, and wear down the others for the win. This is a barn that does well with these lower level claims.
Yeah, they always do very well with that. I went to the 8. Give me a double to the outside here. He was caught on a sloppy sealed track 2 starts back against Open Company, but even in the races prior to that, yes, they weren't spectacular, but they were against Open Company. Gerald Brooks, very sneaky with these types of horses too, and I think the turf to dirt angle is going to be beneficial for him as well.
Yeah, no, that horse could be part of the pace flow. I'll also use the 479er. I like to turn back in distance here to 6. Horse didn't run bad against what might have been a little bit better horses in that tough nickel condition going long.
All right, well, that's races 1 through 5. The Rainbow 6 kicks off in the 6th race. We have a little carryover in there, big carryover in the pick 5. Keith Fustel has a ticket for you. I have a ticket for the pick 6, and we'll get to it right after this commercial break.
Adina Retirement in Aurora, Ontario believes every horse deserves a safe and loving environment. This unique program ensures retired horses are provided a suitable, healthy, and loving home for life after their racing careers are over, and has adopted out more than 400 horses in Canada, has pioneered thoroughbred horse shows, and has been a leader in developing retirement programs throughout North America. The Stronach family is committed to the sport of thoroughbred racing and the grace, spirit, and generosity of the horse.
Welcome back to Today at the Races. Now diving into the Rainbow Pick 6. We have a carryover just over $1,500 in that today. We do start it off in race 6 on the Fort Marcy at 6 furlongs for this maiden $25,000 event. I have a ticket, and it's $57.60. I always find that my $57.60.
That's the magic number.
That's the magic number, and it's right there today. We're using 4 horses in the first leg of the sequence. I do like the 4 in here, but backing myself up with several others in there. Using 3 horses in race 7, 3 in race 8. I really like a horse in race 9, who we'll get to later on today, but race 10 is where my single is. Captain Dixie's going to have to do it for me. I think he's one of the more legitimate horses in the sequence. Really like him today, capping it off with 3 horses in today's finale. So lucky number 5760. Let's do it. We have race 6 here, and we'll start it off with the 4 Mesmerize and go back and look at her debut performance. Now, this was against lower level maiden claimers, and now, yes, she is stepping up in class. But I think the light bulb kind of clicked in the late stages of the race. You could see she showed enough, maturity to rate back from off of the pace. Trevor McCarthy aboard here today. She made a really nice middle move there. As she's closing from off of it, she's kind of green. She's looking all over the place, even though she does have blinkers on. She doesn't really know what to do. You can see that she has the talent, but there's no one around her. Right. So she's closing. The light bulb finally clicks, And she really has some nice late energy in the deep stretch.
No, she was just kind of drifting about in, out, like I say, a little bit green, but she kicked it in late, a really late surge. I thought she might get up right there at the wire, just couldn't quite get up. And once again, she did it on a surface, was really kind of helping. Speed was carrying a little bit further. And I like the fact, I looked at that race, looking at the time comparatively, the final time, only a second off of J-Rock in an A other than for the older boys. So, yeah, I've got to respect that. I think she moves right back up. Here, I don't think this is much of a raising class at all, and gets a good tactical trip. I think she's going to have to deal with the two. Pretty surprised for Susan Cooney, another trainer that does well with these horses off this type of layoff. 61 to 180 days, batting about 12%. That's decent. Goes first time blinker sprinting. Turns back in distance after some good middle moves and can find out the pace a long way in here. Picks up Farragut Lynch. I think this horse is going to be forward.
And she drops in class, too. She's been facing Maiden Special Weight Company, so the drop in class, she's 8-1. You get a great price on her, and she just looks like she can't sustain her speed going around of ground. Now she cuts back. Susan Cooney on the turf, always a danger, so don't let that one go off your radar. I also use the 5-barrel roll in here for trainer Jamie Ness, this 4-year-old filly. You look at her races going around of ground on the turf, and she's not very fast, and that's going to be my concern, but she is dropping from technically Maiden Special Weight Company, higher level maiden claimers at Belmont. She has been well respected by the public in all of those starts.
Yeah, has to come back to one of those first two races. I don't know what happened in March off the leg, off time, so maybe forgive that, and maybe a little bit better sprinting here for the 5-barrel roll. Yeah, I think I have got the two lined a little bit too. I looked at that again this morning. Quest Realty, they always usually show money early, those horses too. So maybe she'll level off 5 or 6 to 1. But I think Favoritism is going to battle between the 4 or 5 in there. So, let's take a look at 7.
All right, race 7, an open $15,000 claiming event, 5.5 furlongs there onto the turf course. And this does kick off the pick 5 carryover over, or just shy of $12,000. So I would imagine this is going to get very well bet, and it's a manageable sequence in my opinion. Let's take a look at your ticket.
It's tough. You were able to kind of get a single there in the 10th. I'm going to go 3 by 2 by 5 by 2 by 2. I think the last race, it's going to center around Kieran's horse, the 10 and Mary, dropping down, both those horses dropping down in class. Last confession for Mary, at large for Kieran. The third race, the third leg, I think is a real scramble. Race 9. I originally had like 7 horses. I had to cut it back to make the ticket affordable, but $60. I think we've got a shot here. And once again, if these tickets kind of break down, I apologize if they break down, but a lot of times they're going to. Maybe follow them up, and do the pick 3s, pick 4s, and work along the way, and sometimes you can connect. So, like I say, we're trying to do our best to keep it reasonable. A lot of times if we'll get together and put a little bit bigger ticket upstairs, it's just the way that it is, because it is a very tough sequence.
Yeah, put your minds together and your funds together and take it down, especially with that nice carryover. In race 7, I predict a very hot early pace, and I think it's going to set up for one of two horses, the 10 Conspire or the 120 Black. I kind of like on the inside, but Conspire has shown that even though her Achilles heel is her closing running style on the turf, because she oftentimes doesn't get to find a seam, but we have seen she's pretty agile, because she can kind of bob and weave in between horses and close from off the pace. This is the right level for her. This is a competitive level for her. Second off the claim, she gets back to a more preferred surface, and the race sets up.
I got a ton of speed. You got the 9 Silver Trust, or the 7 Kippy Fox with some speed. A couple other ones in here, one of before, maybe Overnight Fling will show some speed. She's going to get a great trip. Goes first time on the turf here for Hugh McMahon, laid up since January, but you look at some of the company line stuff and her numbers. She it's almost an omni-fig if she runs anywhere remotely close. I like the 8 Sweet Sway in here too as a price. Ran really sneaky good last time, settled back first time off the claim on the dirt. I think it's poised right now on this transition back to, I think, her better surface. Sweet Sway will be rolling late. She took a lot of play into Conspire back in December. She was well meant. She was closer to the pace than I would have liked to have seen her that day. I think she's going to appreciate this pace flow in here and come rolling from the back of the pack at a price.
She's a fringe player for me too. I only use 3 horses in the pick 6, but she would be the 4th if I were to use one. The 120 Black, similar running style as Conspire. I think she's kind of up against it, because she does draw that rail post, and she's going to have to work out a trip, but she has has proven that she can close at 5 furlongs. So I think the 5.5 furlongs
Right.
may be even better. Just Funinya, horse that you and I both use. You know, I think she's a bit more tactical. She showed
Yeah.
that she could rate early last time out,
Yep.
and I think that's going to be is something that she will have to use today.
No doubt, laid close to that quick pace and was able to sustain. Duck Dad got a little bit squirrely there, you know, past the 8th pole, but really dug in well late to hold off Synergist. She's a mare that kind of really moved up in numbers off of her prior turf trials. I think she broke her maiden back on the turf way back at Pimlico, but yeah, that race very, very good. I mean, it fits
Sharp.
it fits with these.
Okay, we'll move on to the 8th race, the maiden special weight, a mile and a 16th on the main track. And we have the 7, Jump, Jive, and Wail for Mary Epler last time out. I am going against her with, you
Look
and I
at
both
this.
agree.
Yeah, we're looking for
This
the
is
prices.
pretty
Yeah.
remarkable. But Jump, Jive, and Wail had everything go his way last time out. He had a pace duel in front of him that kind of collapsed. He
Right.
closed from off the pace. You saw Super Check on the inside, who maybe Super Check was a little bit game that day. At the same time, I thought he had a full opportunity win. I almost wish that Taylor Holt didn't go over to him and try to meet the horse to his
Yeah.
inside spid, because it looked like he had a confident roll on the outside, but
Right.
still makes me a little bit fearful
You'll
of
see
him.
that sometimes. The horses, some of them like getting, pinned down.
Yeah.
They'll go up against, kind of gets those juices going, the competitive juices. Sometimes they will hang. And
Yeah, they like to
I
be.
think he's going to get an okay pace scenario in here. I think there's going to be some speed with Blangusto, Bullish Bird, Vicious, I think will be out front. And obviously Coleman Fire likes to lay close to the pace. I think he'll get a good setup again. I just think, he might be one of those unlucky horses where he just he sits, he makes his run, and somebody every day seems like somebody's maybe a little bit better. I'm not going to leave him out of it. Message at the 8 is the horse I'm going to concentrate on, a 3-year-old son of Ghost Zapper. Blinkers and Lasix go on. I look back at the Parks race last time out. He kind of broke in a tangle, really got discombobulated early,
Yeah.
fell well off the pace, looked a little bit green around the first turn. I think he's going to have more focus. We saw this kind of move with Snowfighter for the I think similar connections. It might not the exact same connections, and got the job done. I think you're going to see a sharp improvement with Trevor, Lasix, and Blinkers.
And this horse has also been training at Fair Hill. And a lot of the times we see horses shipping into parks, whether it's their first start, 7th start, whatever it is, sometimes they don't always run their best races. This
Yep.
horse, he broke in a tangle, as you said. He had a tremendous amount of dirt immediately hit his face, and it looked like he didn't respond to that
Right.
whatsoever. He was green, throwing his head everywhere. So the blinkers will help him focus in that sense.
Yeah.
You'd imagine that they tinkered with him a little bit in the time being. Trevor McCarthy is attracted to this mount too. So I think there's all positive signs here. Plus he does get Lasix for the first time. So I went with him. I'm also using the one Rock Harbor to the inside. You'll see him in the paddock later. He's a beautiful, beautiful looking horse. He's by Rockport Harbor, and he's out of a mare who was a $310,000 earner going long on the dirt. She was
Wow.
grade 2 placed, actually going long on the dirt, kin to even the score.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So even the score was a grade 2 winner at 9 furlongs on the dirt. He was 3rd in the Hollywood Gold Cup too. So there's a lot of dirt pedigree
Okay.
on the bottom side. He's never tried the dirt.
Yeah, and draws inside fine. He can get up and get position. He's shown a little bit of tactical speed on the synthetics. Yeah, the message at that race at Parks, I mean, that field too. Tippett was a horse that came back and ran well here. Got a little bit of trouble, ran a 70 buyer. Jump Jive and Well is the horse to beat, no doubt about it. I'll also used to two real quick. Von Gusto for Kelly Breen coming in here. Second gelding was kind of against the flow last time after a trouble beginning.
All right, race 9 on the card, another nice maiden special weight, but we head out to the turf at a mile and a 16th. And I thought that this race was wide
It's
wide
like a stakes
open.
almost on,
Yeah.
this is a really good race.
It is wide open. I go to the fillies against the boys here, and that is the number 6, Ain. I was speaking to trainer Susan Cooney prior to the race. It was on a stakes day a couple weeks ago, and she said, she thinks that this filly has a lot of talent, but sprinting on the turf is definitely not her game. She thinks that stretching out to rat ground like her sister Embar is probably the right way to go, and she found a little bit of a late surge there sprinting.
Yeah.
So I do think that this is a filly that's going to improve going 2 turns. I've been waiting to see her back, and you're going to get a good price on her too.
First of all, I thought we were in race 10. I called it looked like a stake. That's the 10th race. It looks like a stake.
Oh,
So, yeah,
that too.
Come on, kid,
This
wake
is-
up. The 9th race. I'm talking about
I've
a
done
maiden
that
race.
plenty of
You've done that a
times.
few times.
Yes.
Okay.
I've skipped races.
Yeah, Ain, she comes in here. She's going to face the boys and stretching out after the one sprint. But kind of got an education in that race. It's kind of caught in between horses around the turn. had to kind of weave through traffic, and then ended up going down inside late and really did come on nicely. So talked about a half to M bar. And Sazerac Girl, the second place finisher, that came back to run a 68 yesterday. I'm going to take a shot with the 3, Publish and Iterate. This is a tough field.
Yeah.
Looking for a price. You might get a square one here. Hope all the money doesn't come in from Sagamore. But first time out as a 2-year-old back in October, caught a real good field. Took a little bit of play in there, 18-1 in a decent sized field. Broke in a little bit, had some trouble. But I think it's just retooled and ready to go here. First time gelding, blinkers on. Looking at the family, the second dam is a half-sister to Affirmed, is the mother of a graded stakes winner and a graded stakes place horse, going 9, 10, 12 furlongs on the turf. I think you're going to see a new horse in the 3, Publish and Iterate.
I completely agree. I didn't use this horse in the top 3, but I did not leave him off of my pick 6 because, the barn, even though it says 0 for 7 so far this year, their horses have been running extremely well. So, Horacio de Paz now taking over as the trainer for Sagamore here locally. So the barn does well. They team up with Horacio Caramanos for multiple winners. So a lot of good signs there. The 7, Dion Kia. I think that's how. I was listening to Larry Colmus this morning and trying to see if that's the correct pronunciation. But first off, the claim for Jamie Ness. They gelled this horse, and I thought he ran a really precocious race last time out. He was broke from the outside. Paco Lopez immediately took him down to the rail going into that first turn. He settled nicely. He closed late. Unfortunately, we just caught a bear. The Giant Storm was a mock class dropper. He was 4-5. That horse was meant to win, but this horse was precocious. And I like the protection.
Yeah, he got in a little bit of trouble. Had a steady midway around the first turn. Then he kind of had to wait around the final turn. And for him to keep going, he hung just a touch late. But hey, that can be excused from all the other stuff that he kind of encountered. He really got a good education and maybe a sneaky claim here for $25,000 for Jamie Ness. So that's it. I'm going to throw Big Timer in. Got some 2 good races under his belt down at Tampa. I think he improved, even though the buyer doesn't show. I think he improved in that second effort here. Comes back for a little bit bigger piece of the pie, a little $40,000 pot. Maybe they'll fire for the money.
He needs to show a little bit more of a late bid, in my opinion, but I think you have to use him protectively in those multi-race sequences. The 10th race, now getting to what should be a stakes race.
There we go.
The 3 other than allowance, optional claim, or a mile and a 16th on the turf. We have Fredericksburg. We have Nucifera in here. We have Captain Dixie. Captain Dixie is going to be my best bet of the day, and we'll watch this replay recently on the 24th at Gulfstream of March at Gulfstream, where he closed from off the pace on a turf that was very kind to speed, as we saw Rosebriar come off the shelf, go to the front end, and never really look back. He obviously exited that race to set a new track record, a minute and 33 flat for the mile, and the Henry S. Clark. And this horse just put in a game grinding run. I think this is a savvy move. Sometimes he can be, I wouldn't say a bit of a head case, but he's kind of hard to settle. So as soon as if they can find the capability of doing that today, he's going to be tough to beat.
I think he's got enough kind of positional speed. He can kind of work out a trip, even though he breaks from the 10 hole. You see, he didn't switch leads in that race, but you say maybe that's the type of horse that he is. He was trying valiantly to get the Rosebriar. Rosebriar had everything his own way and came back and run a 96. Winning the Henry Clark. It's been a long time since horses crossed the wire first. That's my biggest concern for the 10 Captain Dixie. I'm going to go with the 2, a price shot here with I'm the Lucky One for Anthony Pecoraro. This horse is recently gelded and his form has really taken off. And I think looking at the flow of this race, he's going to get a perfect trip, maybe safe ground and stay covered up. Anything remotely close to the last out race gets it done. You go back in April behind Old Time Hockey last April. Those kind of horses, they're capable enough to run well against this kind of field. I think he's going to get a perfect trip down inside, and you're going to get a good price. But that was the key. Gelded January 30th of 16. Was that off the turf race was the first reported. Then the 2 subsequent races, good races, a real good giant step up. Second time or third time gelding. Yeah,
that's a very good point. Yeah. Maybe he's suddenly turned things around. We saw a local horse, Flash Phelps. He was gelded and he was undefeated until last weekend. But a horse that has a lot of talent. Sometimes it just clicks the light bulb on. Real quick, the 5 Fredericksburg is a horse that I'll use. He's another one who hasn't found the winner circle in quite some time. But you can make a lot of excuses and maybe made too many excuses in his last few races. Last time, it was a yielding course. I don't necessarily think he got over it very well. We see in the race prior to that, he couldn't close into a slow pace set by Heart to Heart, who went gate to wire. A race prior to that, it was very firm and very, very kind to speed. We saw Grand Tito set some really sharp fractions and pretty much take the field home. Grand Tito obviously has some talent. So his career down in Gulfstream over the past few months, you can make a lot of excuses for him. He's been unlucky. So maybe today's the day. We will see, but he does come out of some good races.
Yeah, Maya Fleet, the rail horse. We'll see. Hopefully he has a little bit better luck. Cage Fighter had a tough trip, had an issue with his shoes going around the turn, so kind of maybe throw that race out and look for Cage Fighter next time. But that's another one, fresh off the shelf, could run big. I think he's going to be part of the pace flow.
Okay, we'll cap it off with the 11th and final race here, $5,000 claiming event, 6 furlongs there on the main track. The 10 at large will be your heavy favorite. First off, the claim for Kieran McGee. Now, this horse has been facing some heavy hitters in the past several starts. Right on Ready, even though he was the beaten favorite last time out, Right on Ready has some back class. Defer Heaven, a horse who he finished second to the race prior, went on to get a 95 Beyer speed figure, beating 2 other than Allowance Company at Gulfstream, and he ran on Florida Derby Day in the Sir Shackleton. So I almost thought that with this claim, they might protect him against maybe Starter Allowance Company or step him up a little bit more. So that's why I'm a little bit cautious. That at the same time, he's the horse to beat.
Yeah, and the owner-trader connection, they just batted a huge rate. And just a year ago, this horse was a buyer of about 100. Yeah, interesting move, right to the 45. We'll see what goes on and see if there's any action over at the claim box.
I think so.
for the 10 at large. We'll see if somebody bites. Last confession, though, last time out, March 20th, kind of against the flow of the race, Vim just went out to the front. Worley, this 2 speeds went right around the track. Comes back to the level in which he was claimed. I think he'll make a decent move into the pace, and there will be some subsequent, some questionable speed up front, which I think just sets it up for one of these two, the 7 or the 10.
And a little bit of a less suspicious drop in class because they recently claimed him for $5,000. They tried him against the Other Than Company, not going to do it, so dropping him back down. The 2 Streetcar I'll round it out with. Last time he was here, it was under Wayne Potts, but he faced Open Company. He didn't break well, and that's really his best attribute. So I'm hoping, I know there's a lot of other speed in here, but if he can be forwardly placed, he could grab a piece of it.
Gets a little help with the scratch of the boot Wildcat, who looked like he was going to be really out there winging it. Majestic indeed for Potts also. He's run better races here at Laurel than at Charlestown, and he might trickle in for a piece. Okay,
well, that's a wrap for us. You gave out the pick 5, I gave out the pick 6. Let's hope we can get as far as possible, and I really do like Captain Dixie as a single there in the pick 6, but plenty of betting opportunity today. We have 11 races on tap, some big turf fields as well. Thank you once again for joining us here on Today at the Races, and best of luck on this 11-race program.
Good luck.